Right, good evening everyone. Welcome to the Planning Working Party. Item 1 on the agenda is for me to welcome, to note that this working party has no delegated authority and may only make recommendations to the full council. Urgent action may be taken under delegated powers, delegated authority given to the clerk and the chair. Right, item 2, apologies for absence. Vicky?
None received.
Okay. Item 3, declarations of pecuniary interest and request for dispensation. Anyone? No? Okay. Item 4, minutes of the previous meeting. Can I have a show of, can I have a proposer and a seconder to approve the minutes of the meeting held on the 8th of June? Proposed by Councillor Liz Smith. And can I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Tony Brown. Thank you. And matters arising, item 4, is it? Sorry, I've gone back on myself.
Number 5.
Item 5 is matters arising. Right, page, are you going to put the minutes up?
I have got them on my desktop if you wish to see them.
Please. But I don't think there's any, I think we best have them up. Please.
Sorry, I'm just trying to find Zoom again.
If you're having difficulty, Vicky, I can do it.
They're on my desktop. I just need to find how to do that.
While we're waiting, should we vote through the minutes? You've got a proposer and a seconder. I don't think we voted it.
Please, yeah, correct. I've got the proposer and the seconder, which Vicky's got, but we never voted. Can I have a show of hands, please?
Yeah, if you don't mind, John, if you could do that, please.
Okay, that's carried. Thank you. That's carried, Vicky.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, page 212, please. Thank you for that. Page 213. Thank you. Page 214. Yep, page 215. Thank you. It's not page 216, is there? No, right, thank you. Right, just going to go back to my agenda. Item 6. This is Daniel White from, he's a planner from, sorry, on our thing it's just got planner, but I'm sure you're not, just a planner.
Yeah. From Persimmon Homes in Suffolk.
Yeah. what is your title? Can you-
I'm a town planner, but I'm a yeah.
Yeah, it's just got planner here, so but I didn't know the proper title. Right,
No
thank
problems. It's okay.
Thank you, Daniel. Can you sort of give a presentation, please?
Absolutely.
Thank
Let
you.
me just share my screen with you. Bear with us. Can everyone see that?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Did you get my email today?
I
Sorry.
did. I'll just go through that afterwards, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, yeah.
Cool.
I'm just making sure that you got
No
it.
problems. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm here this evening to give you a bit of an update on what's been happening in the background with Haverhill, and where we are with the various projects that we're looking to submit in the near future and have been submitted already. So just to give a bit of, I can obviously share these slides with you, so you don't have to scribble down any dates or anything, so I'll ping them over to Vicky afterwards to circulate. The Haverhill infrastructure application. So I've been working really hard, well, me and the team, with West Suffolk Council on the infrastructure application, and we're looking to resubmit the amended plans at the end, ideally the end of this week, but if not, it'll be Monday next week. The Relief Road as well, we'll be looking to resubmit the plans to discharge the Relief Road conditions again by Monday next week. So both of those outstanding long-term items will hopefully be back with the council and look to seek approval on those. Like I said, I've been working really hard with West Suffolk to try and progress these applications and come up with a scheme that works really well for everybody, and looks to take on board all of the thoughts of the key consultees, and not have a negative impact on the environment, etc., etc. So Haverhill phase 2B, I've been advised that it has been submitted and it's looking to go to the next planning committee. I must admit, I'm not close to this application, so I don't know the exact date it was submitted. But if you have any questions regarding phase 2B, I'd either speak with Penny or my manager, Stuart McAdam. He'll be able to answer any questions on phase 2B for you if you have any. Haverhill phase 3B and phase 6. I've been working with Penny at West Suffolk and the key stakeholders there on these two proposals simultaneously in workshops, which I'll go through and just show what we've done so far and where we are at the moment just shortly. So we're looking to submit both of those applications simultaneously by the 30th of July, so the 30th of next month. 3A, Haverhill phase 3A in the local centre. We'll start the workshops, similarly what we've been doing with phases 3B and 6 with the local authority once those phases have been submitted, because as you can imagine, you can't juggle 3 different applications at once. It's very difficult. The Haverhill sports pitches, that was submitted independently on the 28th of June, and we was advised to remove that from the infrastructure application so it could be delivered sooner. So that's in and live, I believe. And the Haverhill website, I believe Stuart has given you an update on that previously, and I believe it should be going live early next week. I will circulate the web address as soon as I've got it. It just kind of gives updates as to where we are with the planning applications, anything that may be happening in terms of potential road closures or anything like that. Going forward, we'll be able to update that page that you can refer residents to or have a look on yourselves for a bit more information. Has all of the previous decision notices, design code, everything on there, 106, the lot. So if there's anything that you feel is missing, please let us know and we can try and upload it and update it for you. So these projects, like I said, I've been working on personally, so I do know a fair amount what's been going on with these. Haverhill phase 3B. So like I said, I set up workshops working collaboratively with the LPA and key stakeholders, including, bear with me, let me just move you all to the side of my screen, including Suffolk Highways, the lead local flood authority, public right of way team, ecology and landscape officer, and the design out crime team. So in the first workshop, we discussed the site constraints, which are these ones here, predominantly the hedgerow that runs along this side of the site, along the eastern boundary, the buffer that's required along the northern side, and there's also this hedgerow here as well. We also discussed the blue infrastructure, the ecology impacts, the landscape, and the green infrastructure, so to really kind of set the scene. And we presented to West Suffolk and those key stakeholders this block plan, which just kind of set out a kind of idea of where potential development could go within that site. So phase 3B continued. So workshop 2, we looked to build upon the feedback received. Sorry, let me go a step back. So after that workshop, we then received feedback from the relevant consultees. We took that on board, took what they said, and looked to address any concerns they had with the initial block plan that we had proposed. And then we came to workshop 2, and we looked to build upon the feedback received in workshop 1, address the points that were raised, and then show the block plans and proposed character areas for the site, so which you can see in this one here. And then workshop 3, as you can see, at each stage the proposal is evolving. We look to build upon the largely positive comments that we'd received in workshop 2, and provide more detail which was required in order to demonstrate accordance with the Haverhill design code, which is key in this instance. If I zoom in on here, I didn't want to do that. Am I able to? Oh, there we go. Has that zoomed in on everybody? Fantastic. Okay, so some of the key concerns, like I said, was the hedgerow and the public right-of-way that runs along this eastern boundary here. And we just wanted to demonstrate to the local authority and anybody looking at the plans really that we were in accordance with the design code and that an appropriate buffer had been provided. So we are at the narrowest point, 8 meters to the red line. Let me see if I can zoom in a bit more before it goes pixelated. I think that's as close in as I can go. But that does say 8 meters away from the hedge in terms of our red line boundary, and then 17 meters to the front of a proposed dwelling there. As you can see, within that 17 meters, there is some planting within the actual within the parcel itself. So in addition to the gap that we've left, and then in some instances, we're as much as 24 meters away. Obviously, with the relief road and infrastructure applications, they require their own buffers. And again, in the design code, we've looked to demonstrate on this plan the level of buffer required away from the relief road, which is this arrow here, which is 20 meters to the red line boundary. And then in some cases it's 23. So it really varies in terms of the requirements, but it's in accordance with the design code, which is a key point that the council made and have made all along throughout this process. And at some of the widest points to the front of dwellings, it's as much as 36 meters away, with additional planting within for the infrastructure and within the site parcel itself. I know it's hard to see on this, but with the application, it will be clear that there will be additional hedge and tree planting within the site itself. Let me just zoom out now, and then I can go to the next slide for you. So I've called this one the work in progress layout. This is what we discussed and which I shared with you all for comment. We sat down with the LPA and the key stakeholders again. This was the third workshop, and presented this layout off of the back of the feedback we've received. So currently on this layout, it's 116 dwellings across the site. So hopefully that addresses one of your questions earlier. I will just make sure that I haven't missed anything and go through those afterwards. The suds basin, as I'll just go back one, you'll see the shape of the suds basin has actually changed, and we've looked to address that and work with the topography of the land. It makes it a little bit easier to plot in terms of the actual development itself, but it also works favorably with the topography of the land. And I know the LFFA, the Lead Local Flood Authority, were on board with this approach. So we look to do that whilst still maintaining all of the relevant buffers as discussed. So there's a good mix of house types and affordable dwellings across the site. As I've stated previously, the buffers along the boat, the bridleway open to all traffic, the public right of way down here is in accordance with the Haverhill Design Code, as well as the northern boundary also being in accordance with the design code. So if I just talk about phase 6, obviously I'll answer any questions at the end if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
So phase 6 took exactly the same format. We usually had 3-hour meetings, so we'd do an hour and a half on one site and then another hour and a half on the other. So it followed the exact same order. We looked at the site constraints. Phase 6 was a little bit more constrained in terms of the hedgerow that runs along the western, not the hedgerow, sorry, tree belt that runs along the western boundary. You've got an existing ditch that runs along the eastern boundary, and it is very steep in the southwest corner. So we took those on board, and we kind of thought of, in terms of a block plan, this would be kind of the initial concept. We then, in the second workshop, took it a stage further and took on board the feedback received in terms of looking at the turning heads and the distance they are away from existing tree belts, and the light spillage that could potentially happen at the end of those, because the tree belt's meant to be a dark corridor. So it's looking to take those things into consideration when designing our schemes. And then in the third workshop, which is this one here, we were asked, well, in the second workshop, we were asked to remove a path that we had put kind of left, because there was an undulating existing path that ran along that western boundary. And as you can see, the red line for the third workshop has actually shifted over, because in the second, Jackie Fisher, the landscaping and ecology officer, as well as the public right-of-way officer, didn't actually want a formalized path that ran along that boundary. So we looked to move the red line over, which then gave the eastern boundary more of a gap. So we haven't actually gained any space at all. It's just shifted over slightly. Let me just zoom in so you can see the distances on there. So as you can see, from the base of the, I think it's from the edge, sorry, of the existing tree belt to one of our proposed roads, there's a 4-meter distance. And then to the front of houses, it's a 10-meter distance along the western edge, with a path connecting to the south. Otherwise, you'll end up with people just cutting across the grass and using the private drives anyways. And we also added in a path to the from the south to this turning head here, not using the public private driveway, just to provide a bit of a north to south connection into the site, as well as looking to implement some connections there. I forgot to say, 3B does have that as well at various points along the eastern boundary and the northern boundary. I can go back if you want to see that. Okay. So yeah, again, just looking at the design code and the distances required there, and looking to provide an adequate buffer along that eastern edge was key to the local authority, with, in some instances, being 18 meters away just to the red line from the edge of the development, with existing planting within the development proposal itself. I'll zoom out. And then this was the plan that I shared with you. So we took on board again the comments received in the second workshop and looked to factor them into the third, more formalized layout that we proposed on there. So there's 101 dwellings on this proposal. Again, a good mix of house types and affordable dwellings across the site. And we have been working with the affordable housing officer at West Suffolk, so that she's very upfront with us in terms of what she needs, so we can look to factor that in from an early stage, rather than we design our site and then we get those comments and we have to address it. So we've been working with her all along to try and accommodate the actual requirement for Haverhill. And as I discussed, the red line has moved closer to the western boundary whilst leaving a buffer of landscaping within the site boundary, as the public right-of-way officer and landscape officer did not want a path along this western edge going from north to south. And that's it. If you've got any questions, please shout and I'll do my best to answer anything you have. Obviously, if there's anything relating to those plans, I can get them up again. That's not a problem.
Councillor Burns?
Oh, you've gone, Daniel. Oh, there you are, top right.
Yep.
Hiya.
Hello.
Any idea of Relief Road completion, assuming everything goes well with the conditions?
I don't know a definitive date, but I will speak to my construction director who will know a definitive date if everything goes well with the conditions, and I will let you know if that's okay.
I was just interested because obviously you started work on it. I haven't been able to see exactly what progress you're making up there.
Yeah, I believe at the moment we've only cleared some trees, which was working with the highway authority. But apart from that, I don't think we've done very much because we are waiting for the discharge of conditions and doing it the right way.
That's fine. Thank you very much.
It's okay.
Glad to hear the website's coming on. Maybe a bit longer than I anticipated, but that's fine.
Yeah.
One thing you keep mentioning affordable housing, which is fine because we all know it's going to be over the whole site eventually 30%.
Yes.
What does concern me a little bit, and this is possibly down to Persimmon, is actually you mentioned talking to our West Suffolk housing officers who don't actually talk to us at all, unfortunately, which is a bit.
Oh.
And none of them do, apart from Penny.
Right.
The problem we have is that the affordable housing, certainly on phase one, was let to a housing association who has brought in a vast majority of people from outside the area. So it's not actually meeting Haverhill's needs. It's not even meeting our neighbouring council's need. They're actually coming from places like the other side of Cambridge and also East Suffolk. That's because Persimmon went into an agreement with the housing association. In fact, what's happened now is we've got quite a lot of antisocial behaviour going on up there now, which is reflecting on your own clients who've bought them. So I don't know what we can do about that because it's not a planning issue as such, but it's also something that should be discussed with the housing officers who come up with these ideas of 1, 2, 3, 4 bedrooms, but then don't actually meet our needs. So we've still got that massive demand for affordable housing or better still, perhaps social housing. So can you feed that back to Persimmon, please?
Yes, of course.
I think Stuart knows about it, but I'd like to, as you're dealing with the other sites, that'd be great. Thank you. Thanks, Stuart.
Yeah, no problems.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? No? Can you redo my questions then,
Absolutely.
please?
Yeah, just bear with me a second. So in your email, you mentioned about the number of parking spaces and without knowing how many flats or house sizes, it's hard to know where they are. So with regards to parking, our development will be in accordance with the Suffolk parking guidance. The specifics of parking, we are, as I said, we are work in progress with these layouts. So there will be things that will tinker and change in terms of the houses and some of the positions of the houses. So that layout, which I shared with you, isn't the finalised one. And obviously, when we have got a finalised one that we've worked and agreed with West Suffolk, I'll share that with you as well. And it will clearly demonstrate that the number of parking spaces for each unit. But I can assure you they'll be in accordance with the Suffolk Highways guidance there. The next point, the house letters are hard to understand. Yes, and there are 4 spaces, both tandem. Are they for that house or 2 separate houses? Again, I'll make sure that the plans are very, very clear and they will have the plot numbers on, so it'll be easy to distinguish what house is what and what parking space relates to what. But where we have got tandem parking and things, we are looking to address that, and it won't be on the main route into the site. If tandem parking is used at all, it will be on private drives. and we've been working closely with Suffolk Highways, and that's the approach they've kind of taken with regards to tandem parking. And I do note your point about the SUV and potentially opening out onto somebody else's car. So I will have a look at that plot in particular. But I think, like I said, the layout is work in progress at the moment, so it's not like a finalized one, but I will check to make sure that if that house remains as it is, that we can try and avoid that issue there. And then how long and wide are the tandem parking spaces? So they will be as per the parking regs in accordance with the Suffolk guidance. Bear with me. So you're also concerned about tandem parking backing onto roads that many people use. How will you satisfy the safety of people using their cars and backing two cars onto a road? Like I said, the majority of cases where tandem parking will be used, it will be on private drives. So hopefully you won't have that conflict with people reversing out onto major roads. And we'll need to satisfy Suffolk Highways at all stages anyways, and if they have an issue with it, it won't gain support with them. So we will make sure that where we do have tandem parking, it is in appropriate locations. It won't be on the main route into the site. The electric vehicle charging. So I know West Suffolk don't have a policy per se for this, but it is in the Suffolk parking guidance for inclusion. I know Persimmons are taking a proactive approach with this. So with communal parking courts, it's difficult to deliver because you'll be going across multiple owners' lands in terms of the parking court itself. But what we do in those situations is we do provide the opportunity for future connections. So if somebody does want to have an electric car, there is the facility already underground, so they can access that in the communal parking courts. In terms of on-plot electric vehicle charging points, we provide the majority of houses where appropriate. So where there's a short distance between the private house and the garage, for instance, we'll look to run the spur into the garage or on the outside if it's a semi-detached property and doesn't have a garage as such. So there will be those connection facilities for somebody to include an electric vehicle charging point for their car should they wish in the future. So it's all about future proofing basically, and giving people the opportunity should they wish. But obviously where you've got plots that front pavements, for instance, and the parking is in front of the pavement, we can't provide those plots necessarily with the future provision, because otherwise you'll end up with people having the wires from their cars traipsing across the pavement, which could cause other problems. So it's only those situations where we wouldn't look to provide the electric vehicle charging connection for the future, but all the other kind of situations we look to do that.
Okay. Right, thank you.
It's
Councillor
okay.
Burns?
Yes, let me come back. Just as we're talking about parking, Daniel,
Yes.
I keep re-emphasising this to everybody that the parking standards are only guidelines, they're minimum standards, and it's worthwhile if ever you're up here in an evening having a look at phase one, where we've now got lots of residents who have got 4 or 5 cars parking on pavements, blocking roads and everything else because of those design standards. Highways, they never come down here, they don't look at the sites. Very rarely do they. They certainly don't come in the evening, that's for certain, because most officers don't work in evenings, other than our own, of course. So it's worthwhile considering that when you're talking about this. Sometimes, and I appreciate it's all about profits, a lot of the times, it's sometimes better to drop a house or 2 here and there just to give a bit more space available for people, because these houses are going to be here for 100 years, presumably.
Yeah.
and people have got to live here. There should be homes for life, not just homes for next year. Thank you.
Absolutely, I agree. You know, the places that we're designing are, you know, are places that will be there, like you say, for the next 100 years. So, you know, if we don't look at addressing these potential future problems now, then yeah, it will become even worse. So yeah, I do take your point on board, definitely. And you know, where we can, we will look to improve our parking, certainly within the site.
Yeah, thank you, Daniel. Just on that particular point, so that's the problem, that, as I said about SUVs, with electric cars, they seem to be wider as well. I think it's because of the batteries under the floor. So, you know, minimum standards, really, they've got to look into that, authorities, and up them a bit, and that's the thing.
Yeah, I know
that's why I keep emphasising it all the time. It's crazy, because them two spaces are mostly just be one space. And that's what happens when, as Councillor Byrne said, they aggregate on the roads and pavements, ruin the pavements, and also on grass verges if there's any nearby. And that's that's a big problem. It's happening in Haverhill already, because of the old fashion. You know, that they didn't realise how people have so many cars, and it's sort of gone on from there. So, right, Councillor Dave Smith.
Yeah, thank you. I think you said phase 6. You said there's a significant slope to part of the southwest corner thing. I'm trying to picture in my mind. Is that a slope up or a slope down? Is the southwest corner higher or lower?
It's a slope up. It's on a hill, that corner. Yeah.
Okay. So, and some of the concerns in previous phases have been the fact that buildings on a high point are overlooking current developments. Are you going to be taking that into consideration?
Yeah, absolutely. We look to work with the levels of the site, and yeah, definitely, we're not going to try and put, you know, a 4-story block of flats at the top of the hill. It doesn't make sense to do that.
Just put my mind at rest now. You're not thinking of putting any 4-story buildings on that site, are you?
No, we're not.
Thank you. And you said there's a good mix of affordable houses throughout the site, so you got some idea where these will be. They're not going to be in like the affordable element is not going to be just blocks of flats, is it at all?
No. If I quickly share my presentation again, I can just quickly get those plans up. Bear with me a second. So you see the blue dots on there. There are bungalows, there are semi-detached properties, there are some flats, but you know, there is a good mix and it's spread throughout the site. It's not just in little pockets. But you know, like I said, this is a work in progress layout, and the housing officer has given her thoughts in terms of the mix that she wants, but she hasn't given her thoughts in terms of their placement. So those particular properties might change in terms of location, but the type of property that she suggested would remain, and they're not going to be all flats, no.
So the blue dots are the affordable?
Yes, the blue on this plan, the blue dots.
There's a mixture of types from bungalows to how big? To
5-story properties.
5-story.
5-story, sorry, 5-bedroom properties, not
yeah,
5-story. Certainly not. Apologies.
You get 5-bedroom affordable housing.
Yeah, there's a need for it apparently, which I think could have up to 8 occupants, I believe the housing officer told me. So it's something that we have to design in, and all of our affordable properties are actually NDSS compliant as well. So we're compliant with the space standards in terms of internal amenity space and storage and all of that stuff. So they actually are very, very spacious.
So what is your understanding of affordable then? Not necessarily value.
In terms of?
I can't imagine a 5-story, 5 house is cheap, should we say?
No, definitely not. but it would be, you know, those properties would be passed on to the housing association or whoever, you know, the council want to work with, that would have people in mind for those properties. So it'd be larger families.
Yeah.
I would anticipate that would have a need for a property that of that size.
So, so you're from affordable rented accommodation run by a housing association.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Brilliant news, Daniel. We want more of those. That'd be fantastic. That's really good news. We need bungalows,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously we need big houses as well when it comes to housing associations. So that's really good news. Thank you very much.
Like I said, there's a mix of all different types of affordable to meet the whole range of people and needs that have been identified by the housing officer.
Right, is there anyone else? No? Right, thank you, Daniel. Thank you very much for your presentation, and
No problems at all.
really good of you to come.
No worries. Have a good evening all. If it's
Yeah,
okay, I'll
you.
depart.
Yeah, certainly.
Thanks very much.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Okay, back to the agenda. Item 7. Any members of the public, Vicky? No? Right. Item 8, to consider planning applications to West Suffolk Council. I will invite, well, there's not members of the public, so I won't invite them. In relations to planning applications. Oh, no use me saying that. Right, list A, which there isn't any. So we're now to list B, which is DC 21-1232 TCA, 3 conifers, C1, C3, C4 on the plan, crown lift to 3 meters, overhanging neighbours, 1 conifer, C2 on the plan, fell, 1 conifer C5 on the plan, reduce height by 30%, 6 to 7 meters, 1 ash, A1 on the plan, fell, 1 U, Y1 on the plan, fell, 1 U, Y2 on the plan, crown lift to 2.5 meters. This is the Vale House, Hamlet Road. Right, is there anyone want to speak on this at all? No? Right, can I have, Councillor Creaney?
I'll just say that there's no agricultural report again, so I'm not sure how we can actually make a decision on this, really.
Right, do we, the question is, do we need it on this? Because you know, if you're saying that there's a reason, they need a reason, like if they're diseased, because that's normally what when they come into it, isn't it? Colin, can you help me on this?
You're not making a decision, you're purely giving a parish view. The planners will take into account the arboriculturist report, but it depends on the juxtaposition of when this comes out to when the report will be done, to whether or not it's already on the website by the time the parish council happens to have its meeting.
Right, does that answer your question, Councillor Creaney?
Yeah, that's fine. It's a hard one because obviously we did the same at the last planning meeting with the Gertine site, and then straight after the tree officer put a TPO on the trees, and I think was very surprised that we gave a neutral opinion on the fact that they were chopping down trees. So obviously without any information on the trees, even if we say we're neutral, I don't know, it's a hard one. But we could be allowing something to be chopped down that shouldn't be.
Chair,
Yeah, Colin, yeah.
if it's helpful, one of the things there's an output from the Sustainable Haverhill launch is that we have 5 people come forward to volunteer as tree wardens. And I'm busy organising some introductory training for them. One of the things tree wardens do is go and have a look at trees on behalf of the parish council when they come up like this, so that they can give their informed amateur view on whether or not this is a sensible move, and hopefully, obviously, as they get more experienced, they become more knowledgeable and skilled as well. So I'm hoping to see that training happen at the end of July, and then hopefully in the autumn we will have a tree warden in each ward who's able to go and look at trees, and actually they were not an arboriculturist, but they'll be able to provide a informed view to councillors, which I think would help. I think that's what Councillor Lucarini is getting at.
Yeah, Councillor Lucarini's got a very good point. Because we're amateurs at the moment. Well, we a lot of us don't even go to the place. We only see it on the plans, don't we? So that'd be a really good point if you actually go there and see it and have a look around the area. It should be good. Thank you. Councillor Brown?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I looked at the application and it's listed there the reason why they're felling the trees anyway. I do not like to see yews touched, but one's dead. It looks like they're being done for a very good reason. Obviously, it'd be beneficial to have an arboriculturist's report, but looking at face value what the applicant's put in, it looks like there's a good reason. I'm sure no homeowner would like to get rid of a yew. But
Thank you for that. Councillor Crooks?
Yeah, I agree with Tony. When I saw yew tree to be felled, that sent alarm bells ringing, because we all love yew trees. You usually see them in churchyards, don't you? But when you look at the application form, it says the yew tree to be felled is dead. So you accept that. And secondly, the tree surgeon that they have employed is quite respected locally. So that's reassuring as well. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for that. Councillor Davison?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Councillor Crooks just took my thunder. Yes, I've actually personally used the tree surgeon, so I do know that he is very, very good. And I wouldn't have thought that anything would be untoward. But I also agree with Councillor Lucarini. We should really have a proper report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Right, on them comments then, are we going to go for a neutral? Councillor Crooks?
Yes, I propose neutral, Chair, to move it along.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Brown. Okay, all those in favour, please show. Thank you. Right, item 2, or application 2, DC 21-1066 FUL. Installations of 3 antennas and supporting steelwork and associated apparatus, relocation of 3 existing antennas and associated apparatus, and ancillary works. This is a telephone exchange in Chantry Road. Is there any comments on this? No? Okay. Can I have a proposer and a seconder for a neutral, please? Proposed by Liz Smith and seconded by Councillor Lucarini. All those in favour, please show. Carried. Thank you. Application 3, which is DC 21-1220 HH. Small A, single story rear extension. Small B, outbuilding following demolition of existing outbuilding. This is 33 Broad Street. Any comments on this one? No? Okay, can I have a Show of hands for a proposer and a seconder. Proposed by Councillor Davison. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Lucrini. Thank you. All those in favour, please show. Yep, carried. Application 4, which is DC 21-1225 HH, small a 2-storey rear extension, small b single-storey side extension to create garage, following demolition of existing garage. This is 39 Parkside. Councillor Lucrini?
Sorry, I missed the beginning part. I'm going to turn my camera off and declare an interest in this item as I face on to the extension they're going to build.
Okay, thank you. Right, is there any comments on this one? Councillor Dave Smith?
That's a shame, so I can ask Aaron for his opinion. Yeah, these. It looks like the way they're building the garage on the side of the house, obviously, but the driveway entrance is sort of like on the other side of the property. So the vehicle would have to go virtually right across the garden. I don't know if that's relevant or not, but the area seems to be like a family garden, and I don't know whether we're supposed to be commenting on where it's safe or not, but it seemed a bit a strange layout. That's all. Just yeah.
Councillor Crooks?
This is retrospective because if you look at the photos on the application form, it's halfway up already, isn't it?
Right, yeah, I noticed that, which is a bit naughty of them. Councillor Burns?
My only comments may be, I don't think there's probably going to be any loss of light to adjacent properties. I'm not certain in terms of, in the summer or anything like that. Loss of outlook is going to effectively block out some of the things, some of the, the outlook again. Yeah, difficult one. As Councillor Crook said, the photographs show something in the middle of the winter, isn't it? In that case, they appear to have started, and who will stop them if you've wanted to stop it? We all know enforcement ain't going to do anything. So, thank you.
Thank you. Right, is there any other comments on this? No. Councillor Dave Smith again.
There doesn't seem to be any objections from the neighbours, so if they've got no problems, I think we should propose neutral.
Okay. Councillor Smith has proposed neutral. Can I have a seconder for that? Councillor Crooks, thank you. All those in favour, please show. Yeah, thank you. And lastly, application 5, which is DC 21-1192 HH, small a conversion of garage to applicable room, small b first floor extension over garage. This is 22 Rockall Close. I've noticed that they're doing away with a parking space for exercise room and adding another bedroom. I may be wrong, but that's because I must admit it looked very confusing to me. So, put me right if I'm wrong. Councillor Smith, Dave Smith.
According to them, they're not actually adding another bedroom. The third bedroom, as it currently stands, is going to be a study, and it's exactly the same size. So it's going to be one of those grey areas where they're encouraging people to, if they're going to be working from home, to having a decent area to work in. But to me, it's still a bedroom.
Anyone else? Councillor Davison?
Yeah, my understanding is that the exercise room is going to be where the exercise room is going to be where the garage was. They'll still have the parking space in front of the garage, but obviously it means that they would have had 2 parking spaces. Now they're going to have just 1 parking space. And yes, they're going to have 3 bedrooms, or is it 4 bedrooms if you include the study as a bedroom? Thank you.
Yeah. Plus, if there's going to be a business, it's going to, and the area. If you look around the area, the roads are so narrow. It's going to be a real problem. I know it's opposite on Google Earth that the car was sort of parking on its own front little garden there. So they've got a real problem as far as parking on street, as they call it, there. Personally, I think we should object on the parking because there's only 1 parking space. But okay, who else? Councillor Burns?
Yeah, well, I might pick up on that. You know, it's going, as Councillor Davidson says, you know, it's either going to be 2 spaces or 3 spaces required, and not the highway. I don't know how they're going to get 2 spaces on that thing. It doesn't look long enough for 2 cars. I may be wrong. Tony may know more, but certainly not 3 spaces if it does become another bedroom, because that's the current occupant saying it's a study. What happens if they move? You know.
Yeah. Councillor Brown?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I used to live at number 25, so I know the area quite well. But I don't think I knew anyone that actually, this was back 20 odd years, actually used their garages to park their cars in anyway. Many of those garages have been converted into other rooms. Other people on the estate have done exactly the same. You know, I personally haven't got a problem with it at all. The parking around there is the parking around there as it is now anyway. You know, it's been not very good for years. You know.
Yeah, my theory on that is it's okay for them to change their garages to whatever, but if it causes detrimental parking arrangements to that area, and you say you live there and you know they're quite small roads, quite thin, it's going to cause a lot of problems, and we're already having problems with parking. You've only got to go around the estates. You know, I have enough people come to me about parking on the Chalkston, and I expect all the others have the same with the Parkway and places like that. So, you know, we're just making a rod for our own back if we don't say something about it. Thank you for that. Councillor Davison, was that? No? Sorry, I've lost track of who put their hand up. Has anyone else put their hand up? No? Oh, right, okay. Right, so I personally, as I said earlier, object to that on the parking issue. So I'll propose that we object on parking issue. Now, I want a second for that, please. Councillor Stitchcombe? Right. All those in favour, please show. Right. All those against? That's 3. 2, 3, 4. 4 against. So that's 3, 4 against. So that proposal falls. Okay, we're going for a neutral then. Can I have a proposer for a neutral, please? Councillor Davison and second Councillor Brown. All those in favour, please show. Right. All those against? 2 against. That's carried. Thank you. Back to the agenda. Bear with me. Okay, this is item 9, which is matters to report to enable members to exchange any urgent planning matters. Anybody? Councillor Burns?
Only to reiterate what I put in the papers last night about Lidl's application being rejected, about the footpath being behind the cars rather than in front as per design, lack of green foliage stuff at the front, and obviously the ongoing saga of the Vixen pub. Apparently I have had this afternoon an email from West Suffolk to say that they have written to the owner twice but no response. They're now doing the legal bit. I thought they were doing the legal bit 6 months ago when they told me, and also 2 months ago when I reiterated them that they haven't done anything. I thought all that had been done. as I mentioned in my email earlier on, there was somebody there yesterday throwing things out the window onto the footpath in Strasbourg Square. Apparently there is some video footage from a local business, but we're trying to ascertain what's happened to the CCTV, because the police have told me that the CCTV in the square, they've been told, has not been operational for a little while, which is absolutely crazy considering there's a play park there as well. How true that is, I don't know, but currently they're the only two things at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. I've full sympathy the way you, and you know, I congratulate you the way you keep on about the Vixen. It is a real headache. As I say, you know, you can only do what you can do, and you've been getting onto them. It's not right. It's not fair. Councillor Brown first, and then Councillor Crooks.
Yeah, thanks, John, for your tenacity on keeping at them. But I think, to be fair, that'd be a good idea if, as a planning committee, we actually send a letter of support, you know, for the residents and say, look, we're just not, you know, happy with the way that enforcement is, you know, handling this, you know, whole affair, because it's an absolute saga. It looks like Beirut there now. It's absolutely shocking. Kids, someone's going to get badly injured, and it's down to West Suffolk, to be fair. They haven't done they haven't fulfilled their obligations, and I think, you know, I'd like to propose as a planning committee, you know, we send a strong letter to West Suffolk planners.
Yeah, I'd like to second that. I think that's brilliant. Is it okay, John, if Vicky puts your points in there? What happened, for instance, like sinks and that? You was called, the police called because they were throwing sinks or something in the road.
Well, by all means. I mean, they know about it. Obviously, the police are now on their back as well, and the fire brigade will be shortly. I mean, the email I've got was, from a planning perspective, we've written 2 warning letters as per government best practice. You know, why do they necessarily listen, assume that the government knows what is best practice? I don't know, but anyway, I've received no reply. We intend to issue an S215 notice before the end of the week. That's the legal stuff. This will require the site be tidied up and fenced off. The trouble is, our enforcement, you know, could have done this 6 months ago when the rear, or more than 9 months ago, when the rear part was knocked down. But they failed to do that even then, and that's from their own planning officer asking them to do it. Because Penny Mills came down and, you know, she was astounded by the site. So yeah, by all means, if I personally, I think what's happening is West Suffolk are just hiding behind their shirt tails, if that's the right word to use or phrase to use. But I think they might be starting to do something a little bit now. Now, finally, the police have got onto them and said, look, enough's enough. I've also asked the police, I mentioned, yeah, I think some while ago they had 21 visits since September. They're now looking at the last 18 months since January 2020, when the current owners took possession of the building. They're going to be coming up with some statistics, how many times they've actually attended or been called out to that building. And I've asked the fire brigade to do the same thing as evidence to West Suffolk, because they're just quite happy to leave it as it is. But yeah, any support would be great. Thank you. Yeah, we should support you, John, as a planning committee. And I think, you know, I feel lonely otherwise. as you know, Councillor Brown said, you know, we should as a committee do something. Thank you very much. Councillor Crooks.
Yeah, I agree with what Tony's just said. Yeah, we should send a letter. You know, just securing the building isn't really going to work. It might work in the short term, but just tidying the outside and securing it isn't going to work, because the character of the place is dragging the whole estate down, isn't it? You know, that is the central part of the Chalkston where all the residents go, and to have that standing there is just awful. How long has it been empty now? Do we know? Is it 15 years? Is it, John? How long has it been empty?
I think it's just under 15 years. I think the problem is, and I can't say for certain, you know, it was sold at auction. The previous owners went bankrupt, or that company went bankrupt. The new owners bought it, I think, on speculation. What they didn't realise is that they have no right of access across the car park. As per the planning permission, they have to double the size of the car park by, getting rid of a lot of the green areas in there, relining it, putting lighting in, fixing all the access to the Strasbourg Square, digging out the back of the building where it's been demolished into the highway, and actually putting up supporting structures to support the road. That is not going to be cheap. And I think that might be one of the reasons that they may have regretted what they've done. Personally, as I said to West Suffolk again today, is encourage them to knock it down, put it into at least a flat, clean area, that we can't have these kids constantly breaking in, which, as I've said many times before, I keep going in there personally and kicking them out. And they're young as 7 or 8, some of these kids. One of them is going to get killed one day by falling off the roof or whatever it might be. I mean, apparently these people with these basins, I didn't even know there was actually anything left in there, because everyone keeps telling me it's all been, they were throwing them down near to where people were stood. I mean, it would have killed someone, but unfortunately, nobody seems to worry about that.
But as it's a building, don't they have to pay rates on it? Surely if they flattened it, they wouldn't have to pay that, would they?
You get empty building credits and everything. The problem is that if they come back with another planning application, because at the moment they're still intending to do the 18 flats and 2 shops, which I can't see it being viable. That's what the previous owners said. They said there's no way is it viable. So they'll come back and claim, what do they call it? A viability credit. I can't remember the official term. And we'll end up with no affordable housing in it or anything like that, which is a real crying shame. It was offered to Barley Homes, it was offered to Haverhill, but nobody wanted it, because the owners wanted 300 grand for it or whatever the figure was. It's just not financially viable for them. That's what I'd like to see, is knock down a couple of nice little shops in the bottom and a few flats above, not 18 flats, it's far too many. But we'll see.
Right, thank you.
Yeah, please support us if you can. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I've got a proposer from Councillor Brown and a seconder from me. All those in favour, please show. Yeah, overwhelming. Thank you very much for that. Right, the next meeting is on Tuesday, the 13th of July. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for attending, and good evening to you. Come
Thanks,
on,
Pat.
England.